Yeah. So before starting the session, I will. So I'm just opening the Design Studio tool. This is a standalone client tool which you can install on your desktop. And then if you want to have it on your BI platform, I mean you want to save the files or you want to access network, then there are few add-ons required on the BI platform side, which you don't need to worry, that are generally there. But okay, so this is the login window. So you can just timing, you can just ignore that one. I will explain that things later and we will cover in more details. So this is your application tool. Once you will open, you have, if you have recently opened few of the application, they will be listed here. So that's pretty much like any other tools. Okay. And then these are the help windows, various applications on this thing. Now, main thing, one of the few important, most important thing is in the tools. If you go to preferences, so what actually it means, or why I have shown that preferences, because if you see this one, this is one of the most important point, preferred startup mode, SAP Business Object BI platform mode. If you see in the drop down, we have four modes: local mode, BI platform, HANA, or NetWeaver. So what exactly these four means? So I will just tell you a little bit about them. It's not, but so that you get to know what it is. In detail, we will cover it later. So what actually it does, it allows you to open your application in that mode. So what's the advantage is like if you see, if you have a Webby, okay, since you are familiar with Webby, so I will try to make it familiar with Webby. If you connect to a universe, once you open a Webby report, it asks what is your data source. It can be Excel, it can be a Webby, it can be a BigQuery, it can be a HANA view, anything. So depending upon what you select, you get a window. Like if I say universe, then you will give the credentials, what is your system name, user ID, password, authentication type, and all these things. So there you give that window, and then you connect to a specific view or info cube or universe or anything. The same thing happens here. The only difference is that if you say, let's say my startup mode is BI platform, so it will give you a window like you would have seen just now. It showed me. It will automatically create a customized window that will connect you to a BI platform. Okay. If I say my startup mode is SAP HANA, so there will be a change in the window, because obviously in BI platform I need to give my web URL, user ID, password, authentication type. If I say my HANA mode, I need to start up in HANA mode. So what it understood is like you want to connect to a HANA system as soon as the application launch, the tool starts. So it gives you a window for that HANA. So since HANA window interface will be different, it will ask for client name, system number, instance, and all these things. If you go for NetWeaver, it will be pretty much different. So like that, it will just give you an advantage, like a window that is only for that specific mode you start. We will see later on. Generally, for our learning purpose and all these things, we use local mode. Yeah. And if you want your application to be developed right on the BI platform, you can use BI platform. Okay. Then if you go into application design, there is one thing called backend connections. Okay. So whatever all backend connections will be there, they all will be listed here. Okay. BW, HANA, and this HANA connections. If you want to change anything or if you want to add anything, you can add it here. If you want to add, so you can just go system DS, and I don't have that much right, I can write it. You can add the connections. So these are the connections to a specific systems. So that are there. So that is all about connecting. Now, if I want to, what are the systems which we can connect? Since as per my experience or whatever even you would have faced, the first and the foremost important thing that comes when you want to get a knowledge about a tool is what are the backend system it supports. It should not be that, okay, it has this limitation, that limitation, and all these things. So just to make you clear, technically, if you see you don't have any limitation, you can connect to any of the tools in Design Studio, a backend tool I'm telling, backend system or backend database. The only difference is the way in which they will be connected. Okay, so that we will see in details, like how we like if you have a SAP backend system, like whether it is a SAP BW system, SAP HANA view, you can directly connect, or SAP Universe. So these you can directly connect. But if you want to connect to a non-SAP source, let's say you have a Oracle system, SQL Server, all these things. So in that case, what you will do? So in that case, what we need to do is we need to create a universe. So technically, if you say, or if I want to summarize it in a couple of lines, it would be if you have a SAP source, you can directly connect. If you have a non-SAP source, you need to create a universe and then consume it. So that is the way that all we will see how we will do. Then you create a application. Okay, so this is your application, and you would have seen in other tools also, like in Excel sheets dashboard, you have some templates where you can use some existing template or you can just have a blank. So for our starting purpose, learning purpose, we generally prefer to have blank template. But once you are familiar with the templates and how the components are being used, what are their functionality, and in which scenarios they are preferred, then maybe you can use an existing template so that you don't have to build it from scratch. Okay, but generally I prefer to go for blank because because of whatever template you will take, it will have few unnecessary components and managing them is a little bit difficult. What I feel, it's not that standard rule, I will say you can use that one, but I prefer to go with blank template. So then you can give a name, let's say I give. So here it is created. This is whatever white screen what you are seeing, that is your canvas or layout where you will bring the components in. Here left hand side you have all the components: analytic, basic, container. Okay, and this you can ignore time in Design Studio Parallel component. This is actually an extension or add-on components which I have added for some other purpose. But generally when you will install the standalone plan, you will have only these three categories: analytic, basic, and container. Rest all are not there. Okay. Generally these three are the total components which are available. Generally in the service pack, new service packs which come, there might be a little variance, like in this is SP2. I think in SP4 there are little bit variance, I guess. They have not, the chart is removed. So that kind of thing, but generally categories are three: analytic, basic, and container. So that is, so you don't need to worry too much why they are analytic, why they are basic, why they are container. Just consider all these three, whatever are present, they are the components. Okay. We will see one by one with an example what is the purpose of that component, how they are used, in which scenarios they are used, and if two or three components are there which are similar to each other, then which one to go for that one. So these are the components. Now comes the most important thing, data source. So generally when you want to use a data source from your backend system, there are three steps. Okay. So they are not something like you will do the three steps one by one, but overall when you will build your application, these three steps will be used not one by one, I mean not sequentially just after one of the first you will do first step, then maybe other things you will do, then second will come, and then three. So you can say mainly in three stages the work. So how it works is the first step is you connect to a backend system. So if you see, these are the connections which are already being created. So this first step is you connect to a system. That, okay, my XYZ system is there. I connected to that one. Okay, fine. Next step is add a data source. So in that one, what you do is you choose a connection. Let's say you have 5 BW system. Okay, BW system or whatever system, BO system. So each will have different sets of HANA views, analytical views, universe, info queues, everything, plenty of things. So in this step, where we add the data source, you have to choose a specific connection. Okay. So here actually connection is a very generic term. Okay. So whether you want to use a BI system, ECC system, HANA system, whichever you want to use. Okay. So let's say I want to use a HANA system. Okay, then I just need to have a password. If your that connection is active, then it will say connection is active. So what you have done is you have chosen which connection I want to use. That connection can be connected to any one of the system. Okay, so out of multiple connection, you choose which connection I need to use. Now this step, data source. In this step, what you do is you choose the specific table, views, info cube, universe, whatever is there in that system. So whenever whatever backend system is there, it will have multiple views, tables, all these things. So you choose that specific table. So let's say I take this one. Okay. So I say I want this analytic calculation view. Okay. So I am using a specific HANA calculation view. Generally they are named as CV. CV means calculation view. So this is my second step. Okay. So in second step, what we do is we choose a specific table. Okay. That can be, so table I am saying in a generic term, that can be a HANA calculation view, universe, Bex info cube, anything. But let's say for a simple term, we say it's a table, because physically they might appear to you as a different, but internally they are stored as a table, all whether it's a universe, info cube, or HANA views, everything. So this is the second step. First step was we connect to a system, and second step is we connect to a specific table. That can be a universe, that can be a HANA view, that can be a Bex info cube. Then comes the third step. In third step, what we do is the table to which you have connected, okay, that can have 10 columns, 20 columns, 30 columns. That can have n number of columns. But you might not be interested in all of them. Okay, you might be, so you might, they might be required for their other purposes. Like if you go for any like online analytical OLAP data, or you have some OLTP data, they have n number of columns like transaction ID, timestamp ID, product ID, SKU ID, all these things. So they will have at least in real time 20 to 30 columns are not something very rare. They are pretty much common. So obviously you don't need all that 30 columns. So in this step, that is edit initial view, you choose what are the column in which you are interested. Okay, so that it does not load unnecessary column, it does not impact your report, and it does not reduces your performance and make increase. Obviously, loading a table with 10 columns is much faster compared to loading a table with 30 columns, 40 columns. So here, this will be the all list of columns available that he will be getting from backend. But here you choose which one are in on this. Let's say I am interested only in okay, I just want to be revenue and accrued sales deduction. Then what are the dimensions you are interested? Let's say I want to view city, okay, or let's say I want to view country. So now you see there are so many columns. Around 5 measures were there and approximately 10 dimensions were there. So almost 15. But what I was interested was only in country, revenue and accurate sale. So out of 15, I was interested in 3. So that is kind of a creating a subset of that component table. Okay, so you would have in universe, you would have created drive table where you what you do is you choose any specific columns. So this step is similar to that one. You create a subset of the table with some limited columns so that unnecessary column are not loaded in your application, which delays your application load, reduces time, gets the overhead. So this is the third step. So as I told you, 3 steps. These are the 3 steps. First, you connect to a system. Second, you connect to a specific table. And in that third, you create a subset of that table which are required in your reportings. Okay. Now I will just give you a brief idea what all these components are there. Basic one, like chart and cross tab. These are the two components. So not much here. Then dimension filter, it is used to filter for a specific dimension. Like you have a table which represents country, category, product ID and all these things, and you want to have a filter for a specific country. Then you can use that one. Dimension filter, filter line, filter panel. But kind of similar with little bit of difference between them that I will cover when I will take them individually with an example. But just to give you an idea, as the name itself suggests what they do, like filter, 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 everything, they are almost similar, but there is a difference. Okay. Then you go for geomaps. They are used to display the data when you want to display in geographical map format. They are used. Info chart, they are just the extended version of chart. There were few limitation in charts. So just to overcome that one, they have introduced info chart. So now onward, they have removed chart. You will not see this chart from one point, the next subsequent version. Okay, you will have only info chart. Okay. This is navigation panel. This is used to swap between the dimensions. Okay. Okay. Then you have a scorecard and spreadsheet. They are two additional components which they have recently added, which is used to add the display the data apart from cross tab. Cross tab is something which was there since the starting, but these two scorecard and spreadsheet have recently introduced. Okay, so they are almost tabular form of data with limited functionality and some additional few things. Okay. So scorecard is something which they have recently introduced and it is a little bit complicated component. So you will see each of them, how they work. Okay. So these are the analytic components. Now if you go for basic components, so don't worry like why they are analytic, why they are basic. Okay, because initially when the Designer Studio was launched, at that moment it makes sense to call them analytic and basic, but now they have so much addition and movement, so it doesn't make sense. Okay. What is the button? Button is something which is used for the user to perform an action. Okay, if you want something to click, like you want to give him a help option so that he clicks, or you want to open another report, or you want to save your application, print. So we will see the usage of this button. Okay, chart type picker is when you want your user to change the chart type at runtime. Okay, let's say you are displaying line chart and user want to change it to column chart, pie chart, bar chart, stack chart. So all that modification. Checkbox when you want your user to select something, like it's a pretty real-time object you would have used anywhere. Like you go to online shopping, there are terms and conditions. If you agree, it will proceed. So that kind of thing. Checkbox group, that is also pretty much a straightforward component you would have used. Like when you go for shopping or anywhere, you have, let's say, 5 brands. So they all will be listed in a checkbox group, and you can select a specific brand in which you are interested. So you can choose 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5, like that. This date field is you want if you want to select a specific date. Now this drop down box, that is something which is common across different tools also you would have used. Drop down, it will display a list of, when you click, it will give you a extended list of all the objects or the list of values. And then whatever you select, it filters the data. Okay, so drop down box formatted text view, it is just a text which is used to, you want to display some title of your report, or you want to display some chart and you want to display a header to that one, that kind of. Fragment gallery, you can ignore it right now. It's a little bit complicated. It's not something I can explain it in just a couple of words. It is a little bit complex. Icon, this is recently introduced when you want to give an icon like cross icon, refresh icon, tick icon, forward, backward, different kind of icons. Okay. Images, when you want your user to add an image on your application. Okay. Basic or best example is when you want to have a company logo or company tagline, or you want to give a background to your application. So these are the different uses of images. You can ignore this thing, info chart feeding panel. Input field, when you want your user to enter some text. Okay. You have multiple scenarios where you want to use it. Okay. Then this list box radio button, they are also the same thing. Filter kind of thing. List box, it will list you, have list of all, let's say country filter is there. So it list box will have all the list of values you can select and filter it. So list box, radio button, drop down, and checkbox group. These 4 are generally similar. Checkbox, drop down, list box, and radio button. These 4 are pretty much same, with a little bit difference that we will see. Okay, then we have text, which is used to display some text. So this formatted text view and this text, these are pretty much similar. The only difference is text is a general text where you display any information, and this formatted text view is a subset, or it is a customized form of text which is mostly suitable for giving a heading. So this is already formatted, that's why it says formatted. It is a header kind of a thing. It is a little bit bold, and that the font is a little bit large. So generally, rather than if you want to use text, you have to go modify it if you want to use text for header. So what they have done, they have already given a formatted text to you. So, but generally, we can use text also as a formatted text view. So then we have this grid layout. These are the container component. So whatever components are available in analytic and basic, whenever put it, you put it under any of these of the container: grid layout, page book, panel, pop-up, split cell container, tab strip. Mostly what you will use is tab strip. Okay, that you would have used in any other business object tool also. A split cell container, you can ignore it. It is used in together with fragment gallery, which I just skipped. Yes, that you can ignore. pop-up, general pop-up if you want to display some information on top of your background or on your report. And panel is used as a container component where you want to group your component or put all the component under one container. Mostly out of this container component, panel and tab strip. These are the two things which you will use mostly. Grid layout and page book are very rarely used. I don't prefer to use them much because whatever you can do with these two, you can achieve with panel, tab strip, pop-up. You can achieve it. So, okay. So these are the generally,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I have one question here. I mean,
sure.
how it is different from Excel sheets or the dashboard developer?
First of all, if you see Excel's dashboard, the biggest limitation of that tool is that it has a limited data set. You cannot have a huge set of data. Generally, it is
Mm-hmm.
recommended to have 500 to 1000 rows. If you go beyond, its performance degrades very badly. And
Mm-hmm.
recently, as per the SAP and they are not providing support and upgrade to Excel sheets. And
Okay.
anyway, that is something not for a developer to concern whether they are providing, but just for information. But looking at the way we can use the tools, it has plenty of
Mm-hmm.
dynamic things. Every component have a actually one thing called scripting part. That scripting part is actually the best thing available in any of the tools SAP. So what scripting do is this part on select. This is a scripting part where you can do anything, all the calculations, modification. So virtually what you do is at any moment you can pause your application. If you see in Design Studio, if you see in Excel sheets, if you want to do some calculation, like user selects anything, then you have few components by which you can only do. Either you have filter, if you combo box kind of thing is there, drop down is there. If you select that only, the data will change. Or if you select on a chart, data will change. And
Mm-hmm.
you can control other objects very limited. But here, the thing is you can do not only controlling the visibility or filtering the data, you can do all the calculations here. So literally, or you can say technically, if I say, you can pause your application at any moment. Whenever user clicks anything or selects anything or does anything, you can pause your application. It's until unless your script is executed, it will not proceed. So you can have all the virtual calculations. You want to have some data filtering. You want to hide some component, or like that one. Everything you can do it in here. And once this script is executed, the program will proceed further. And every component can communicate with any other component. So if you see here, if I press Control plus space, so it will list me whatever all the components are available. So at any moment you can communicate with any of the components. And the functions what you have available, they are kind of, let's say if I want to see what are the functions available for cross tab. Cross tab 1, and if I press dot, it will list me all the functions. Now you see what are so many: get selected member, get dimension, get width, is visible, remove set, set everything. So at any moment you can set anything. Okay. It's not like any other tool where you have to go to properties and you set. If you go to an Excel sheet, what you can set is dynamically at next you can set the visibility, nothing else. But here you can set the width, you can set the height, you can set the data source, you can set the columns which you want to display, you can set filter the data, anything. So possibilities, what I feel for Design Studio, like I am using it for the past almost 3 years, it is mostly helpful, or I will say the best usage of Design Studio comes only when you want your user to give interactive report. He can interact with it. If you give static report, this tool doesn't adds value. Like if you have a 5 region data and just regional data, and if he clicks on the next tab, you have a detailed data. For that purpose, you can use any other tool. But if you want something like I have a 5 region data, user clicks on any of the chart, on any of the region, it takes him to a next tab where he can select the various dimensions or key figures which he wants, and then he can have a drill down within the chart or master detail kind of reports. So multiple interaction he wants, in that case it will be feasible. And mostly I will say is like right now this tool was one of the, I will say, mostly used SAP Business Object tool, this Lumira, these two are mostly used. But all the things you can get, maybe if you cover 2 3, or I will cover 3 4 sessions, at one you can get a feel like, okay, how much powerful and how much different it is from there. And it is generally executed on a Internet Explorer browser, your web browser. So you don't need to have a like Excel sheet, it generates a flash, and then only you will view it, so which it take time. But here it is executable directly on your internet browser. So it uses the browser capabilities, and that's why it's very fast. Okay, and also very lightweight. It does not make your application very heavy. Okay. So that's a little bit about Design Studio tool. So anything else if you want?
Okay. No, not as of now. And with the competition to Lumira, I mean, it is, where does it stand?
Lumira is a standard basic tool which is used just for display purpose. Lumira does not have that dynamic interaction and calculation, all this possible. And more importantly, the SAP is planning to club Lumira and Design Studio together to have the calculation and dynamic capability of Design Studio and the presentation formats of Lumira. That is in their roadmap, but when they will do it, that's not very much clear. But Lumira is a very straightforward tool. It is not recommended, or it is not capable of handling multiple calculations. It has standard calculation like plus, minus, all these things. You cannot have something like data filtering whenever user selects all these things. That is not.
Okay, so here we can make the formulas and do the calculations also. Is it like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And what about with comparison to Tableau?
Tableau is also. I have not used Tableau very much because I am in the SAP domain only. So, but just for my learning purpose, I have used it. Even Tableau is also similar to Lumira with few calculations power, little bit more, I will say, compared to Lumira. Still, it does not have that much dynamic capability as compared to this Design Studio.
Okay.
And mostly you will get to know this tool in few sessions if you go through them, because in just explaining in word it will not be very much digestible to you, or you
No, I can
cannot get a
understand
very.
that. I'm just asking,
Yeah, I'm telling you that not everything 100% you will get. Okay, what is the benefit? Maybe 25-30% or few benefits or few advantages or few that you can get it. Not everything.
Yeah, that's basically, I mean, when you work on it, you get more knowledge. It's like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Okay, it's fine for me as of now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay, thank you.
then, yeah. Thanks, Phil. Thanks. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye bye.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Pankaj. Bye.